building collapsed. She says, as she's walking down the building, she can hear the little kids, not 16-year-old members of Hamas. You're talking 4 and 5-year-olds screaming for their mothers while they're buried underneath the rubble, screaming for help from their mommy. And you know what, Pierce? No help is coming because there's no bulldozers in Gaza. Nobody's coming to get those kids out. This is the reality of war. And this is what this is the main point that I was trying to make to Douglas Murray, which he kept running away from. If you're going to say that our goal here is to degrade Hamas, Murray conceded you probably can't eliminate them, but he feels like you can degrade them. If you're going to degrade Hamas and the cost of it is those little children dying under rubble, screaming for their mother as their bones are crushed and no one's coming to help them, then fine. But at least say that you find that price acceptable. And then we could have a real conversation about why people are going to view you as a monster.
Well, Dave, since nobody online, at least so far as I can tell, has been willing to, in my opinion, directly and honestly answer this question, I'm going to try to. So to your question of whether or not it is an acceptable price to pay for innocent children in Gaza to die by Israeli bombings and have nobody coming to help them and so forth and so on, the answer to whether or not that's an acceptable price to pay to destroy or degrade Hamas, the answer is unquestionably and obviously yes. That is an acceptable price to pay. It's a horrible and extremely unfortunate and horribly tragic price to pay, but it is an unavoidable price that you have to pay if you want to conduct warfare against your enemies. So, while terrible and tragic and should never be wished on any human being ever under any circumstances, the unfortunate reality of the world and life is that if somebody comes and attacks you and wants to kill you, and you respond by trying to fight them back and kill them, innocent people are going to die. Children are going to die in horrible ways. This is the unfortunate reality of warfare. So unless you can present to me a way in which any country, Israel, any army, anybody on planet Earth has the ability to fight people that are trying to kill them while completely eliminating any sort of innocent civilians, any sort of collateral damage, unless you can present to me a way in which somehow you can fight an enemy without anybody else dying other than the very enemies, the designated enemies that you're going after, then your moral law that you're going by, which is of course this should not be an acceptable price to pay. No, of course you should not accept innocent children dying. That's just delusional. Like, essentially what it boils down to is that if that is your line of thinking and you're of the belief system that innocent children dying as a result of Israel responding to the attacks of Hamas, of the attacks of October 7th, unless you're saying that children dying, innocent people dying, is not an acceptable price to pay, then basically all you're saying is that Israel simply does not have the right to respond, period. It's that simple. Because otherwise, innocent people are going to die. So it's basically the same argument that the retarded pro-Palestinian people, say. People say, oh, well, yeah, of course Israel has the right to defend themselves, but they're going overboard. They're doing too much. Well, what are they supposed to do? Well, if they can just go back to the 48, it's all bullshit. At the end of the day, they have no argument because the way that they think, it's very simple. Israel does not have the right to respond because they don't have the right to be there in the first place. Period. There is no response that Israel could have done after October 7th that would have been acceptable to the pro-Palestinian retards. Okay? And essentially, you're siding with them. That's basically what you're saying. You're saying that Israel doesn't have the right to be able to fight their enemies unless they can do it in an absolutely impossible manner, which is that no innocent children or anybody innocent gets killed in the process, which is completely unrealistic and is completely fucking delusional. Yet, you seem to be sticking to your guns on this, and nobody else on the other side seems to be willing to have the fucking balls to just be like, yes, dude, obviously that has to happen. It sucks. Nobody wants that to happen, but I hate to say this, but that's kind of on Hamas. Now we can go back and forth as to, the Israelis are at fault here. They were here first. They were here first. Sure, you can go all the way back and We can have that fucking debate for years. But to put this on Israel and basically say, you guys are evil monsters and genocidal lunatics for allowing innocent people to die in the process of trying to go back and kill the people that just tried to kill you, is just preposterous and insane. So I really wish that Doug had just simply confidently stood up and said yes. Unfortunately, he didn't, and he made a bunch of bullshit non-arguments against you, which is a whole other thing, which I was very, very disappointed. Unquestionably, the worst performance I've ever seen from Douglas Murray, who I absolutely love. But I think that point, that example that you used, was a missed opportunity for him, because I think that your logic on this particular issue, or that particular example that you gave, is completely flawed, and I'm kind of surprised that you're still sticking to it. So that's my 2 cents, and yeah, man, I hope you take that into consideration. Cheers. All right, I'll do it.